It's a luxury and a major upgrade that Caleb Downs will be wearing an Ohio State uniform in the fall.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to a Wednesday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Here on Wednesday, May 15th in the year 2024, I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast, and I'd like to thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen or first watch of every single day. The Buckeyes got a major upgrade when Caleb Downs decided to transfer to Ohio State earlier this year. It's one of those things that many people out there were not thinking. Even when Caleb Downs was in the portal, a lot of people were not thinking that Caleb Downs would come to Ohio State. But when you think about what Caleb Downs is, the player, the athlete, what he did last year, being the SEC Freshman of the Year, you put that package together, it's a luxury that Ohio State has him and a major upgrade. Because who do you think would be out there alongside Lathan Ransom playing the other safety spot? Maybe Sonny Styles, who I think is better suited for the LB spot that he's playing in the fall. I think this is huge. Sonny Styles isn't bad, but he's no Caleb Downs. And Caleb Downs does a little bit of a few things for Ohio State, but there's one factor that I think we could see him in. And it's one of those things where I think if Ohio State wants to think outside of the box, what can he do outside of just playing either safety spot that will allow him to be a better piece of the pie in the playbook football for the Buckeyes, good football for the Buckeyes in the fall? Put that boy at punt return. Now, some of you might say, Jay, why in the world are you going to talk about a guy that's as good as he is, was the SEC Freshman of the Year a year ago? Why in the world would you put a player of that caliber back at punt return? Isn't the name of the game to put your best option out there and let that bad boy do what he does best? I think so. I know it's unconventional for people to say that thought or to put that out there, but I think Caleb Downs can help Ohio State literally on the defensive side of the ball and the special teams. But the luxury that it is to have him have him in Columbus, it's one of those things that I don't even think right now, until he's actually on the field, will we be able to sit out here and say, oh, there it is, I see it. Oh, there it is, I see it there. Yeah, the film is one thing, and what he did at Alabama, that was great. That was huge. Not going to sugarcoat that or gloss over it. You can't do that. It's what he did at Alabama under Nick Saban that is making people like myself and even like you anticipating what Downs will do in the scarlet and gray in the fall. I'm a person that when I watch a player's film, I look for a few key things, and offensive line's going to look for something different than a safety. A safety, I want to look for something different than a running back. A running back, I want to look for something different than a quarterback. But one of the things I look for, no matter what player I am watching or what position I am watching, I'm looking for how quick they are, how quickly they can process, how quickly they move. Now, the pace of an offensive lineman moving is going to be slower than the pace of a safety. At least it should be. If it's not, we got issues. The pace of a running back moving is going to be a little bit different than a defensive end moving. It may be the same, maybe different, but you get where I'm going. And with Caleb Downs, that film, man, that boy good. That boy is so good. It comes natural to an extent, to a degree, and it's really rare for me to make that statement about a guy who's only played 1 year of college football, but I think that statement is true. Something simply looked very natural for Caleb Downs, which is great. You want players on the field that make everything look natural, naturally good. Now, if you're naturally bad, we got some issues. But if you're naturally good and you're consistently working to be better at your craft, but at the same time, you're still naturally good, hey, that's a great foundation for us to work on. That's a great way to start your building blocks and to put things together. For Ohio State in the fall, imagine what it's going to be for opposing offenses when you have Downs at one safety spot, Ransom at the other, and you literally have no idea who the strong and who the free safety is. Man, that's crazy. And it could easily be, hey, the guy that's in the strong safety spot pre-snap is that post-snap. That very well could be true. But it also could be true that that's not the case. That literally you are looking at a guy and looking at players that, well, their pre-snap is not what they are post-snap, and they change things up and no 2 plays or no 3 plays in a row are ever the same. That is going to be a nightmare. And I think Ryan Day's philosophy with the portal kind of changed a little bit in regards to the players he's bringing to Ohio State and being able to utilize the portal in the way that he did, and even being able to pull a guy away from enrolling in one school, halt that enrollment process. Oh, nope, going to play somewhere else. I think Ryan Day realizes, one, something has to change. Something has to quickly change. Number 2, he's realizing how things are going to change and how things need to change. Realizing things need to change is one factor. It's one point. And I do believe that Ryan Day realized that. If you and I realize that we talk about it all off season, we'll do that up until the start of fall camp and even into the regular season in the fall. Things needed to change quick, fast, and in a hurry. I don't think Ohio State should be done using the portal. But that's a conversation that is still valid out there. But what they can do is try to use this same mindset the next offseason, the offseason after, the offseason after. If you can get a player like Caleb Downs, it's not only a luxury and an upgrade in the current present day, it's also the possibility that it can be an upgrade and a luxury down the road to where this mindset is not one that is here today, gone tomorrow. At least if it is, we got bigger issues. But it's one that's here today, and hopefully it's going to stay for tomorrow and the next day and the next day and 2025 and 2026 and 2027 and beyond. Why? Because this is a mindset Ryan Day needs to have in regards to players in the portal, players you want to bring in, players that are going to be out there doing the thing every single weekend. If you have this mindset, when there's an elite player out there, and I don't use that word elite lightly or loosely. I understand it's very similar to saying someone is a superstar in the NBA. For some reason, people call guys superstars way too early. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But people are saying so-and-so is a superstar. No, there are not that many. There's not 20 superstars in the NBA. But if you listen to any old conversation, people will say there are 20. No. That's not the way the cookie crumbles. It's not going to be that way today. It won't be that way tomorrow. That's not the way the cookie crumbles. But the cookie does crumble this way. Ryan Day is doing something that is great. Ryan Day is being able to utilize the portal to make things better for Ohio State. But also Ryan Day is using the portal to help his team in the future. Yeah, Downs has a couple more years, I think 3 more years of eligibility left. I would anticipate him only using 2 more of those and then going off to the National Football League. Quinshon Judkins has multiple years of eligibility left. I think he'll possibly only use 1. If he uses 2, great. You transfer, raise your draft stock, make some money at Ohio State while doing it, and the Buckeyes win some trophies. Hey, you're checking off boxes, Ryan Day. You're doing the right thing. And bringing Downs is the right thing, but also it's also the right thing to line Ransom and Downs up next to each other on the field, because y'all, that's a nightmare for opposing defensive coordinators. We'll dive more into that topic next. This episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. This episode is brought to you by Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus has the best selection of pool tables, game tables, shuffleboard tables, and more. They also have the best service in Central Ohio. Everything you need for in-home and backyard entertainment is at Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus carries the best pool tables from Brunswick, Alhassan, Canada, Billiards, and more. And the grills, whether you like charcoal or gas or wood-fired, Billiards Plus has a perfect setup for all grillers. They are family owned and operated, and when you talk to the staff at Billiards Plus, you know you're talking to an expert who won't steer you wrong. No matter the season, Billiards Plus has you covered for all your indoor and outdoor entertainment needs. Kitty, Sarah, and the whole staff will always go above and beyond to give you the best customer service in the industry. Billiards Plus, visit their showroom on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. These two guys, dynamic duos. It's going to be one of the themes that I think about Ohio State's defense and offense in general. I'll dive more into that here in a second. But when you have a player, with the experience of Lathan Ransom, and you have a guy that did such amazing things as a true freshman at Alabama a year ago, as your two safeties, as your two deep safeties, yo. It doesn't matter what school you're playing, if it's a team up north, if it happens to be Alabama or Georgia or Minnesota or Purdue or Notre Dame or USC or Oregon or UCLA, Oregon State, Texas State, no matter what state they're from, this is going to be a literal nightmare for every offensive coordinator. If you got to worry about these two guys on the back end, while also trying to deal with the two guys on the interior of the D-line, while also trying to deal with the two guys on the exterior of the D-line, while also trying to deal with the two guys at corner, while also trying to deal with the linebackers and Cody Simon and Sonny Styles, while also trying to deal with Jordan Hancock, if you have all of that on your mind at one time, buddy, how are you going to sleep the night before the game? How are you going to sleep the 2 or 3 nights before the game? Why? Because there really ain't no formula for that. I don't normally rant and rave about the Buckeyes defense. I haven't really been able to do that since 2019. Yeah, well, last year was really, really good. Don't get me wrong. But outside of last year's team and 2019's team, 2019 was before I started covering the team here for the Locked On Podcast Network. Last year's defense was the best defense Ohio State has had since I started covering the team in 2020. But for 2020, 2021, 2022, what do we have to talk about on this show all the time? A defense that wasn't getting the job done. Now, 2020's defense was better, but 2021, bad. 2022, bad. It ain't Jim Knowles' fault. Knowles is just a coach. He is just putting some stuff out there. He's just feeding you the news. He's just feeding you the details. He's providing the playbook and all of the different checks and different audibles that are in there. He's just providing it for you. That's all Knowles can do. He ain't out there on the field. No. Knowles ain't out there literally in the game. Knowles is up there. He's the eye in the sky. And sometimes some people will say he looks like an assassin. Why? Because that man is up there literally, not even trying to be sarcastic here, kind of still. He is literally up there plotting and planning on how he's going to attack the offense. Now, an assassin, you may say Jim Knowles looks like that. Is he really an assassin? I mean, maybe if you're trying to assassinate an opposing offense, yes. But when it comes to the human body or human lives, I don't think Jim Knowles rolls that way. But he does roll this way with this team. A team that is so talented, a team that is doing some amazing things in the portal still. I don't. Part of me thinks the Buckeyes are still doing more in the portal, but I just don't want them to be done just yet. Why? We'll talk more about this soon, but if you roll into 2024 with this current roster, you got major questions at linebacker. You got not so much a major question at RB3, but there's still a question there. The tight end room, do you really want G. Scott Jr. starting or to be your backup? He could be your backup starting. No. Haven't seen enough from Will Kazmarek to believe that he is the right guy. Do I think Jelani Thurman should jump G. Scott Jr.? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what should happen. But these two guys, again, let's get back to the subject at hand. With these two guys together, you're literally looking at two guys that if they were in the same class, they would both be drafted one, second, or third round as far as right now. The other could be a first-round pick. Why? I'm not saying names. I think y'all can pick up which one would be a second or third-round pick, which one would be a first-round pick. This is also a projection based off what I think they'll do in the upcoming season. One needs to be healthy to make sure that he stays up and moves up the depth chart, but the draft boards. But if not, he will still get drafted. It's not a day 2 pick. This is going to be fun to watch. The physicality, the ability to go sideline to sideline, how rangy these guys are. Y'all, this is going to be a lot of fun to watch. And this is what we wanted to see. You wanted to see a defense that upgrades things. You wanted to see Jim Knowles upgrade things with the players that are right there for him. You wanted Jim Knowles to make sure that no matter what happened, no matter who's out there on the other side of the ball, no matter what color jerseys on the other side of the field, you wanted to make sure that your best 11 guys are guys that don't need to come off the field for any reason. Do I seriously think that anybody out there in the Buckeye starting defense right now, from the front four with Sawyer to Imaloau, Hamilton, and Williams, to the next two at linebacker with Cody Simon and Sonny Styles, do I really think in the secondary with Igbenurson, with Burke, with Hancock, with Downs or Ransom, do I truly think that any of those 11 guys possess an issue in either the run game or the pass game where they are a liability? Do I think that personally right now? Absolutely not. I do not think so, which is a big reason why you have to do it. And this is going to be a defense. I am not saying best in the country. I'm not saying top 5. I am not putting any labels or rankings on the defense right now until we see them ball out in the fall. If they ball out, if they're physical, if teams are leaving the game with 3 first downs in a 60-minute game and multiple guys are having less than 100 total rushing yards, then we'll have a conversation about best in the game in the sport. Why? Because of the data points that we have to look at and to base our opinions on. That's how we use things. We use data points. We use things that are resources for us to utilize to make these opinions, not uneducated opinions, but educated opinions. It's so great. It's so huge to have Ransom and Downs together. Those are just 2 guys. Should we be concerned about the safety depth at Ohio State? We'll answer that question next. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to the tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. It's playoff time, baby. Playoffs are going on all over the place. We're now in the second round. Right around the corner will be the conference finals. And maybe you and your friends are trying to decide where you want to go for the weekend. Y'all know there's a playoff game in town. You're not sure if it's okay to make a decision at the last minute to get a ticket that is affordable. Hey, go ahead and get that lowest price guarantee at Gametime with last minute tickets, all in prices, and the views from your seat. They take the guesswork out of buying tickets for you and do it with NBA tickets. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. This is one thing that I want to do that I think with every single position is very, very valuable. Not only highlighting the starters, not only highlighting the newcomers, maybe a transfer or maybe a freshman in Jeremiah Smith, but also looking at the depth. And this is one of those exercises that you might be excited about or you might not like, because it exposes a hole in the Buckeyes roster, and you're a little frustrated because you think there should never be a hole in the Buckeyes roster. I ain't mad about you. I like that mindset, but even the things that we think should not happen, sometimes they do happen. So what do we have to do? Make sure some things get put in the right place. Ohio State currently at safety, and I'm talking about the two safety spots. If you want to throw the nickel safety or cover safety in there with the nickel, I don't, because Jordan Hancock is a corner, not a safety. Lorenzo Styles Jr. might be able to play a little safety, but he is more of a corner. Miles Lockhart, corner. So I'm not going to use that cover safety spot, because still to me, I call it nickel corner. On the app website I'm looking at currently, which is the exact same depth chart for Ohio State, it's called nickel back, like the band. So I understand cover safety. That's an Ohio State term. We're going to use it in the more universal terms as well as the Ohio State term to describe that position. You got Ransom and Downs, Caleb Downs, Lathan Ransom as the two starters. Right behind them, you have Jaden Bonsu and Malik Hartford. How much did Jaden Bonsu play last year? You tell me. How many games? How many tackles? What did he do? Did he redshirt? Did he not redshirt? You tell me. Malik Hartford played a little bit last year, but was it significant ball? Did he do a lot of good things? Did he make a lot of big hits? Did he get a lot of interceptions? What do you find? These two guys are second-year guys that are still literally trying to get their feet wet. And so, yes, the depth right now is a concern. Not the end of the world, but it is a legitimate concern. The Buckeyes just brought in, his name escapes me right now, the former Michigan State safety. And one thing we know about guys in the portal, hey, there's a lot of talent out there. But also there are some guys that don't get picked up once they enter the portal. Now, I do believe this young man, Jaden Mangum, that's his name, he is going to get picked up. He went to Ohio State for a visit, went to Nebraska for a visit, went to his rival in the team up north for a visit. I don't understand how these cats be going from, hey, I'm going to play for one school and then potentially transfer to the rival. What? Kyle Ford did that, former USC Trojan, and then played for UCLA 1 year. Then, made a mistake going back to USC. How you do that? I know how, but in my brain, I'm still asking how. Because it don't make no sense. Why in the world would you decide that you want to go from, I'll play to this school? It's just like, I know a guy, I'm not saying names. Some of y'all might remember Samson James. I'll say it. And he used to be an Ohio State commit. Didn't sign, just a hard verbal commit, somewhat hard. And then he ended up somewhat of a hard verbal commit. Then he ended up decommitting, and I believe he ended up committing to Indiana, played for the Hoosiers, transferred to Purdue. And I'm trying to figure out, it's the Indiana kid. He knows what the rivalries and all this stuff is. How in the world do you do that? It doesn't compute in my brain. I know how, but it's somewhere along the way you got to think, hey, man, I'm a Trojan. Do I really want to leave this portion of Southern California to go to another portion of Southern California and play for the Bruins? Isn't there a rivalry? Don't we feud over this? Don't we scratch and claw over this? And people are going to try and say, USC, UCLA, one of the top 5 rivalries in the sport. This is exactly why it's not. You don't see Ohio State and Michigan players going back and forth to back. No. Now, Tony Alford ended up going from Ohio State to Michigan, but also he didn't really. I mean, he had a job at Ohio State, didn't get a multi-year contract. It was a one-year contract, and the financial bump that you thought he would have gotten did not get that either. So there's a lot of things a lot of boxes that weren't checked. Next thing you know, he's up in Ann Arbor. So that's more. I understand it's all a business, but I find that weird too. We're not gonna lie to you. That's really, really weird. But I understand. I can get it. Still doesn't sit well with me. But yeah, no, the Buckeyes, I really hope they did enough to close that deal with Jaden Mangum. They need some depth, some experienced depth, experienced guys that have played this sport for quite a long time. Why? Because outside of your top two guys, the guys behind them are pretty green, pretty inexperienced. Hartford played a little bit, but he wasn't ready to start last year, and I don't think he's ready to start right now. You gotta figure this thing out. For the Buckeyes, though, top is great. The next two guys aren't scrubs. I mean, honestly, Jayden Bonsu looks like a linebacker. I'm sitting over there at the spring game, and my wife is to my right, and I'm like, I literally will talk to her and say, 2021 looks like this, and this guy looks like that. She gets all the nerd notes. All the nerd notes you guys get, my wife gets them before you. And if I say something crazy, my wife lets me know before y'all get it. And sometimes when my wife tells you something's crazy, well, y'all don't get it. Why? Because it's crazy. Anyways, I'm sitting at the spring game, and Jayden Bonsu is out the right corner of my eye, and I'm like, okay, that's a linebacker. Now, I know what Jayden Bonsu looks like, but seeing him this year on the sidelines at Ohio State spring game, I'm like, oh, no, that's a safety. That boy different, though. He's built different. Like, there's a physicality and a physical appearance that he has, and you're like, oh, okay, I understand what's going on here. And so you got to get more depth. I would be very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. If you roll into 2024 with only those two guys, your top two safety. Now, Lorenzo Styles Jr. can play a little bit there, but even then, hadn't played that much ball. I would be really, really nervous. I think I'm worried about the linebackers at Ohio State. I am. Even for guys that are starting. I'm a little nervous about the guys that are backing up, Lathan Ransom and Caleb Downs, because, well, Ransom has multiple injuries, big injuries, major injuries during his Buckeye career. Hope he doesn't get hurt, but if he does, do you trust the guys behind him to get the job done and do it at a great level, at a high clip? Right now, can't say yes. Down the road, I might be able to. Have you heard the big news? The big thing that Locked On recently did and launched. It's the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On Plus, our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. You can follow me on X at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. We're out of here, Buckeye fans, on a hump day. We'll see you next time.